Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Let's Build Twitter. This is episode 87. Unfortunately, with the way that things broke down the recording session editing, this one and the next will be a little bit slightly shorter. But in this episode, we continue working on the login functionality, starting out by refactoring a bit of the modal button code because Twitter doesn't use the same size buttons and some of the buttons are disabled inside the modals. Then we create a login button that is meant to actually send an HTTP request to log the user in using that modified modal button, wrapping up by integrating it inside of the login modal and modifying our Java code to send a 403 error whenever the user's password is incorrect. As always, I'm Ethan on Koder, and let's hop straight into development. Now, obviously, whenever we type in here, it's going to keep track of the password and everything, but it's not really doing anything. So we probably want to go ahead and take a look at what to do next to get this doing what we want it. So back inside of our code, we need to modify something inside of the modal button. So I'm going to go back into here, and I think our modal button props is inside our global interface. And we also need to go ahead and open up modal button. So let's see, modal button. So once again, Twitter in their wise wisdom made things random and not even and the same. So we're gonna add an active called Boolean, or Boolean called active. We're also gonna have a height of a number, and we're gonna change some things. This is also gonna break a bunch of things, but it's fine. And then what we want to go ahead and do, we need to go back into our modal button. And this is going to break a bunch of things. It's absolutely fine. And we need to go ahead and add a height, which I don't really think it matters where it goes. I'm just going to put it down here. Our height is now going to be $props. And we're going to do one of these. And then it's going to say backticks $props.height EX. All right, so that one's good. Then we also need a border radius change. So under border radius, I'll just add this under border. Our border dash radius is now going to have a calculation. So we're going to have $, put our props in. And this is going to have backtick and $, parenthesis or curly braces, props dot height divided by 2. PX, so this will give us those rounded corners that look good. And then on our hover, we're going to do a couple things. So first, we're going to change the cursor. So whenever it's disabled, we don't want to have a pointer. So we're going to say $props, and this is going to say, hey, is props.active true? If that's the case, if it is true, we'll go ahead and say pointer. Otherwise, we're going to say auto, which basically defaults to nothing, excuse me, hiccups. And then our background color is, I think, the same. Let me go ahead and check. Props, RGBA. And so this one, we also have to change a little bit because we're now adding active to it. So I'm going to make a little bit of an indentation here. So we're going to say, we're going to check if $, props. We already have props, I guess, so let's actually do this. I'm going to bring this down like so. So if our props.active, if this is true, then we're going to say question mark. If it's active, we'll go ahead and do all of that. Otherwise, what we're going to do is come down here, do this, and then otherwise what it's going to be is it's going to say just hover background or props dot background color. So it's either going to have a hover effect if it's active. If it's not active, it's not going to have a hover effect. And then we're also going to do something similar here. So we're going to say if it has a hover border and it's props dot active. If that's the case, it'll do a solid, otherwise it'll do none. So this is going to let us kind of modify our stuff and make it a little bit more custom because again, Twitter is in their wise wisdom made the modal buttons different sizes. So of course, this is going to break a bunch of things. So first off in here, we just want all of the actives equal to true. So active equal to true. And then the height on this one is 40, I believe. So I'm going to go ahead and say height is going to equal, and I think I just put a number in here, 40. And then we have another one. So again, active will be equal to true for this one. We don't want it disabled. And then what we want is to have our, already forgot, height. Once again, will equal to 40. This one, we had another modal button. Here it is. Active, true, and the size or height is equal to 40. And I think that's all of them in this one. Oh, never mind, there's one more. Active equal to true, and height equal to 40. And I don't know if we have any other ones. Let's see if it is compiling, so it looks like we're good here. So that fixes that up. Now we can go ahead and fix up the login button that will actually go ahead and dispatch the password and everything like that for us. So I'm going to make one more new file, and this is kind of getting a mess, but it's fine. I'm going to go ahead and make a new folder. I'm going to call this login button and make a new file. Call it login button.tsx. And then, of course, let's get rid of this so we have more space. Let's go ahead and import React from React. It's not going to have any states or anything like that. And then we're going to import our app dispatch because we will be dispatching the password. And then we'll also go ahead and import use dispatch from React Redux. And then we'll import maybe our login user function, login user async thunk from our slices, and also import our modal button. And this is the reason why we had to set up a different height, because this modal button is like 50 instead of 40 or something. Like, why? Who knows? And then /, we need to import /login button .css, which I don't remember if we made, so let's double check. Nope, let's make that login button.css. All right, that's good to go. Go ahead and create an interface for this one. A login button props. And I don't know why I'm taking in string username and password here, but whatever. Username string, password string, but we should have the username inside of our state. So I don't know why I set this up this way, but maybe there's a reason. Export const login button, the react.function component, looks like a login button props equal to username password. And then we'll go ahead and we'll start out by returning a div, the class name equal to login dash button. All right, and let's set up a couple of things here. So first thing we need to go ahead and set up is a const dispatch, and this will be a app dispatch. Thank you for that, dispatch. And this is going to equal to use dispatch. And we'll go ahead and say const handle login equal to. And now we're going to go ahead and say dispatch. And then our login user. In here, we'll go ahead and pass in the username and the password. Cool. And let's go ahead and set up a couple of things. So we're going to go ahead and say modal button. And we're going to have an on click, which will go ahead and call our handle login. And then active is going to be equal to password, not equal to either this. And if that's the case, we'll say true or false. And you can't just say like not password, it doesn't work. I've tried it. So just so you know, we'll have disabled. So what if we want it disabled or not, which is going to be basically the opposite. So password, and this is going to be not equal, question mark, and then false, colon true. And this is because disabled false means that it works, and then disabled true means it doesn't work. So it's a little bit weird and finicky, but it is what it is. Our height, again, is going to be 50 because they're stupid and didn't make things the same size. Font color is going to be white. I need to make this a string. not using the same string stuff. It's fine. Our background color is going to be equal to, and again, we're going to check if we have a password here. So not equal to this. And if that's the case, it's going to be black. Otherwise, it's going to be RGBA of 0, 0, 0.5. Cool. Next, we need a font size, which is going to be 17. We need a font weight, which is going to be 700. And then we need a hover background. So our hover background, come on, please. Background is going to be, we need a this, so R will be 0, G will be 0, B will be 0, and then A will be 0.8. And that should basically be it. We just need to close this out. I'm gonna say log in, to have it like that. And then we're going to have a p tag, and this is why it needs to be slightly bigger, because this, for whatever reason, is what they did here. Class name is going to be, whoops, we need a div first. Div class name is going to be equal to login dash button dash text and color dash gray. So that means we also need to pull in our trusty old global. We'll grab that in a second. Don't have an account question mark span class name equal to link and color blue, and we'll do that. And actually I need to do this first, and then I'll close the span. We'll say sign up like so, and save this. I think this is all we have to do inside here. Again, I don't know where the username is coming from. I guess it doesn't matter if it comes from a prop or straight from the state, so I guess that's probably why I did that. But let's go ahead and set up the CSS real quick, and this should be pretty quick. Inside of here, we're going to say dot login dash button, maybe, and the login button is just going to have a width of 75%. It's going to have a height of fit content. Then we're going to have a dot login dash button dash text. In the login button text, let's have a font size. Whoops. Font dash size of 15px. A font dash weight of 500. A margin dash bottom of 25px. Then also, let's go back in here before I forget, and let's go ahead and import the global CSS. Import // all the way down to assets, and then slash global.css. Cool, and I think that should set up our button. Now we need to go ahead and bring that into our login modal and make it so it works. So back into our login modal, wherever it is, we've got a whole bunch of stuff open. Login modal. Cool. Let's go ahead and pull this in. So I'll go ahead and import our login button, and we need the button here. So we'll say login button, which is going to take a username, which will just be our state.username, and it's going to take in a password, which will be equal to the password that we have, and close that and save. I don't think we need anything else in here for the time being. We can go ahead and take a look. Let's see. Oh, let's see. Module not found. Oh, I misspelled login button CSS. So let's fix that. Login button and login button CSS and save. And cool, looks good. Now the only issue is right now, whenever an error occurs, nothing really happens, or it doesn't throw like a very good exception. So now what we want to go ahead and do is hop back into Java and fix that so our authentication controller can actually throw a correct exception, and then we can go ahead and handle it on the front end before wrapping up. So let's go ahead and come back into our Java code, and what we're going to want to do is go into our authentication controller. Authentication controller, We want to go to our login. What we want to go ahead and do is, instead of having this return the new login response with nothing in it, we want to throw a new invalid credentials exception. This will help us out later on. And save. And what we're going to want to go ahead and do is create this exception inside of our exceptions, because it doesn't exist currently. So go ahead and make a new class, and it's going to be called an invalid credentials exception. And this is going to extends. I think we just do exception here, and we need a public invalid. If I could type valid credentials exception, which is just going to take in a super that says, and I spelled something wrong here. Here we go. Username or password does not exist. And save that, and we can close out this, and we can go ahead and import this from our footer, and this needs to say throws an invalid credentials exception, like so. Cool. And now we need to set up a handler for that. That way it can throw us something useful. So down below here, I'll just say at exception handler, and this is going to take in the invalid credentials exception dot class, and this is just going to be a public response body, or not response body, response entity of type string, and we're just going to say handle invalid credential and do this. And all we're going to do is return a new response entity of type string. And this is just going to say invalid credentials and have an HTTP status dot, and we're just going to say forbidden. And I swear we've used response entity in here. I might want to spell response right, and that might help out a bunch. There we go. So now whenever something bad happens, we can actually see it on our web page. Unfortunately, that's going to be it for today. If you guys enjoyed, please stick around for the next episode by hitting that subscribe button. You'll know exactly when it comes out, especially with that bell icon. If you did enjoy the content today, please sure to leave a thumbs up. If you did enjoy it, leave a thumbs down. Either way, it helps out with the algorithm all the same. And finally, if you have any suggestions or feedback for me, make sure you leave a comment down below. With that being said, I appreciate you all for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode. Peace out, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.